They smile when you flinch. They win when you react. And yet, they lose the moment you stop playing their game. Psychopaths don't conquer you with violence. They conquer you with perception. They make you doubt your instincts, reshape your truth, until silence feels like surrender. But silence, when wielded with awareness, becomes your weapon. Because in every battle for the mind, the calm observer always wins. Tonight, you'll learn how to see what they hide and how to defeat a psychopath without saying a single word. In a world addicted to noise, to arguments, persuasion, and performance, true power hides in quiet understanding. To defeat manipulation, you must first understand its nature, not through aggression, not through words, but through perception, the art of seeing what moves beneath the surface. This is not about learning how to manipulate others. It is about learning how not to be manipulated. It's about reclaiming the parts of your mind that fear the dark and turning that darkness into sight. Because the psychopath does not attack the body first. They attack the mind, your trust in your own perception. They twist emotion into confusion, attention into obedience, empathy into chains. They play on your silence until your quiet becomes submission. But there is another kind of silence, a silence that watches, that measures, that waits. And when the moment comes, that silence moves like water, untouched, unharmed, unbroken. In this exploration, you will learn how to embody that silence, how to observe without absorbing, how to see without being seen, how to hold your mind steady in the presence of deceit. The journey unfolds in 3 layers. The first reveals awareness, how to read the unspoken world beneath words. The second unveils response, how to mirror without surrendering the self. And the third ascends into mastery, how to become untouchable, not through control, but through composure. By the end, you will not only recognize manipulation, you will dissolve its power calmly, quietly, invisibly. Lean in, because what follows is not advice. It's an initiation into the oldest form of defense, awareness itself. Part 1, the silent mirror, reading the unspoken. There is a kind of war that never leaves scars on the skin, but leaves entire worlds burned within the mind. The psychopath's weapon is not rage, it is precision. They do not attack you openly. They study your breathing, your tone, your hesitation, and from these invisible cues, they design their next move. To defeat them, you must learn the same art, not to harm, but to see. Awareness begins where assumption ends. Most people listen to words, but words are smoke. The truth lies in pauses, gestures, tension, the language of the nervous system. Psychopaths exploit this language instinctively. They read uncertainty like a map. They test boundaries not by shouting, but by observing. A moment's discomfort in your eyes becomes their invitation. A nervous smile becomes their opening. They sense weakness not as emotion, but as information. Imagine a room. You enter, and someone greets you with a perfect smile. Their tone is friendly, but something feels off, too controlled, too measured. You can't name it, but your body knows. That is your first signal. The body feels what the mind has not yet translated. Psychopaths depend on your dismissal of that feeling. They thrive on your desire to be reasonable, to explain away discomfort as paranoia. But that whisper in your stomach, that tightening in your jaw, is not irrational fear. It's ancient intelligence. It's your survival system, detecting subtle incoherence. To read the unspoken, you must reconnect with that system. You must trust the unease before logic sanitizes it. In this first stage of awareness, your task is not to react, but to observe. Do not label behavior as good or bad. Label it as pattern. When you remove emotion from observation, you begin to see structure, repetition, rhythm, motive. The psychopath hides behind charm, but charm repeated becomes calculation. Watch for repetition without purpose. Compliments that come too often. Gestures that mimic yours with microscopic delay. They are constructing rapport, a mirror designed to lower your defenses. It was Niccolo Machiavelli who wrote in The Prince that men are so simple and so obedient to present necessities that he who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. He wasn't glorifying deceit. He was describing its ecosystem. Deception only thrives when observation sleeps. To awaken that observation, imagine yourself as a mirror, not a participant. Reflect their words, their posture, their tempo, but without absorbing it. Hold emotional neutrality like a flame cupped in your hand. They cannot manipulate what they cannot read. Here's how. When they speak, slow your breathing. Let your body become still. Don't match their rhythm. Make silence your armor. As they seek reaction, give them stillness. Stillness unsettles the manipulative mind. It denies them data. Your calmness becomes confusion to them because their control depends on feedback. Without your reaction, their map dissolves. Think of the Stanford Prison Experiment, a study intended to understand authority and compliance. What unfolded was not about uniforms or power structures, but about perception. Guards became cruel not because they were told to be, but because they believed they could be. Power exists first in belief, then in behavior. Psychopaths know this. They project authority through certainty. If you doubt yourself, you submit to their belief system without realizing it. So train your perception to see beyond projected confidence. Certainty that demands submission is not strength, it's theater. Watch the eyes. Real confidence moves outward with ease. False confidence scans for validation. Watch the gestures. Genuine authority rests. False authority insists. Psychopaths insist. Their certainty feels like gravity, but it's a void that consumes your sense of self. When you learn to see the difference, you detach. And detachment is the first form of freedom. Imagine a confrontation. A coworker dismisses your boundary, speaking over you with calculated charm. You feel the pressure to smile, to stay polite. That is the test. In that instant, breathe. Do not fight their energy. Do not match it. Withdraw into awareness. Let silence stretch between their words. Watch the discomfort bloom in their eyes when their manipulation fails to land. That moment, the flicker of uncertainty, is when the mask cracks. You've seen through it. Practical step 1. Observe before interpreting. Do not rush to label someone as toxic or psychopathic. Labels blind you to subtlety. Instead, collect data, patterns of behavior over time. Does their kindness evaporate when unobserved? Do they shift blame when confronted? Do they weaponize guilt to regain control? Let these questions hover in your awareness, not as accusations, but as filters for truth. Practical step 2. Neutralize your emotional temperature. Before and during any interaction that feels manipulative, focus your attention on your breath, the anchor of your nervous system. Count the inhale to 4, exhale to 6. This reverses the psychological polarity. They feed on tension. You starve them of it. Your calm becomes the mirror in which they face themselves. Practical step 3. Detach from outcome. Psychopaths win when you need something from them. Approval, resolution, closure. The moment you stop needing, you become ungovernable. Practice this detachment in small ways. When someone pressures you for a response, pause. Silence is not weakness. It's dominance in disguise. In that pause, their control unravels. Throughout history, silence has been the mark of power. Sun Tzu wrote, "Let your plans be dark and impenetrable as night, and when you move, fall like a thunderbolt." But most misunderstand this. The darkness he speaks of is not deceit, it's stillness, the kind that sees without being seen. When you learn to perceive others without revealing your own emotional coordinates, you reclaim the upper ground. The psychopath operates through reaction loops. They provoke emotion, you respond, they recalibrate. Break the loop, and their influence fades. This is why the silent observer terrifies them. They cannot manipulate what does not move. Imagine standing in a crowded street. Everyone around you is shouting opinions, rushing, colliding. In the center of the storm, you stand still. Your stillness creates contrast. It draws attention without effort. That is psychological gravity. Not because you force it, but because you embody control in a world addicted to reaction. This same principle applies when facing manipulation. The one who stays centered dictates the rhythm of the interaction. There is an ancient Japanese concept, mushin, the mind without mind. It is the state of effortless awareness practiced by Zen warriors. Not passive, but fluid. When confronted, they did not freeze. They flowed. They saw the strike before it was launched, because they had already stilled the inner noise that blinds most minds. To defeat a psychopath, cultivate motion. Let their words pass through you like wind through water. You see, you register, but you do not cling. The manipulator wants friction, emotion to twist, resistance to exploit. Be like the mirror that reflects but never retains. And when you begin to master this awareness, something changes. You no longer fear the psychopath. You begin to study them with calm curiosity, not as a threat, but as a pattern in nature. You recognize their hunger for control, their emptiness disguised as power, and in that recognition, the illusion collapses. Because here is the truth they never want you to see. The psychopath's strength depends entirely on your participation. They are architects of chaos, but only if you enter the building, withdraw your energy, and the structure crumbles. Stay calm, and their strategies dissolve into silence. In time, this awareness extends beyond defense. You start to see manipulation everywhere, not just in individuals, but in systems, media, culture. You see how fear is sold as virtue, how outrage is packaged as truth, how distraction becomes obedience. And with each recognition, you step further outside the game. That is what it means to defeat a psychopath. Not just one person, but the pattern of manipulation itself. You do not need to fight. You need only to see, and seeing is the beginning of sovereignty. So breathe, observe, detach. Your silence is not absence. It is presence refined to its purest form. When you stand calm before deceit, you are no longer the target. You are the mirror in which it destroys itself. In the next chapter, you'll learn the art of response, how to turn awareness into subtle influence, how to move through manipulation without ever appearing to resist it, how to weave power invisibly, like a shadow that bends light around itself. But for now, remember this: awareness is the sword that never needs to strike, because the moment you see the game, you've already won. Part 2, the invisible thread, weaving influence undetected. Power that announces itself is already half spent. Real influence moves quietly, beneath awareness, beneath defense. A psychopath understands this. They don't force obedience, they invite it. They pull at invisible threads, emotional contagion, subtle rhythm, the small synchronization of tone and gesture. They make you feel as if the decision was yours, when it never was. To defeat them, you must learn to see the threads before they tighten. And more importantly, you must learn how to hold them without pulling back. The second stage is strategic awareness, the art of controlled reciprocity. It is not aggression, it is reflection with purpose. When they push, you absorb. When they flatter, you listen, but do not echo. When they attempt to mirror you, you slow down just enough to make their imitation uncomfortable. Subtle dissonance disrupts the illusion of rapport. This is where the silent mirror becomes a moving current. You are no longer only observing. You are shaping the rhythm of interaction. Consider the court of Louis XIV, the Sun King of France. His rule was absolute not only because of armies, but because he understood psychology before psychology existed. He made courtiers wait hours to be seen. He controlled the rhythm of attention. Every gesture, every delay, every silence was designed to teach dependence. In his court, time itself became a leash. Psychopaths use the same principle, control through timing. They delay responses to make you anxious. They flood you with affection, then withdraw it to create pursuit. It's not what they say, it's when they say it. To neutralize this, reclaim rhythm. Do not rush to fill silence. When they delay, you delay longer. When they withhold, you withhold curiosity. The thread snaps where tension meets indifference. Now imagine an interaction at work. Someone challenges your competence with a subtle insult disguised as humor. If you react, you confirm their control. If you freeze, you become prey. But if you smile faintly, let your eyes rest on them just a moment too long, and then resume your task without a word. You reframe the scene. They feel the weight of unspoken awareness. It is not confrontation, it is gravity. This is the psychology of quiet dominance. The one who controls tempo controls perception, and the one who controls perception controls the frame. Practical mastery in this stage requires 3 silent techniques. First, the pause of power. Before any response, insert stillness. A single heartbeat of silence shifts dominance. It signals that your emotions obey you, not them. That pause disarms charm and arrogance alike. It creates uncertainty, and uncertainty is the manipulator's kryptonite. Second, the subtle mirror. Mirror posture, not personality. If they lean in, you lean slightly, but not fully. If they speak softly, match tone but hold slower cadence. Your mirroring says, "I see you," but your restraint says, "You do not move me." It invites connection without surrender. Third, the reversal of focus. Ask questions that redirect attention. Psychopaths thrive on control, but control demands energy. Every time you calmly redirect their attention, "What made you feel that? Why do you think that matters?" You make them explain themselves. They hate being analyzed because analysis robs them of mystery. This subtle strategy turns manipulation back into self-exposure. They reveal more trying to control you than they realize. And you, the silent observer, become the invisible thread they cannot grasp. Let's step deeper. All influence, ethical or dark, depends on emotional contagion. Human nervous systems sync unconsciously. Moods spread faster than logic. Psychopaths exploit this resonance. They project confidence, indifference, superiority, and your body tries to match it. Before long, you start doubting your own rhythm, feeling inferior without reason. The defense is conscious regulation. Anchor your physiology before entering the arena. A single slow exhale can reset your nervous system. A grounded stance, feet flat, shoulders open, signals to your body that it's safe. And when your body feels safe, your mind cannot be hijacked. In the art of war, Sun Tzu warns, to subdue the enemy without fighting is the acme of skill. In psychological defense, subduing without fighting means never feeding conflict. A psychopath wants you reactive because reaction creates data. Every raised voice, every apology, every over-explanation. These are threads they can pull. Cut every thread. Respond in minimal words, neutral tone, calm eyes. Their aggression meets a void. They will try harder, escalate, test, but their efforts fall into silence. Eventually, they retreat, not because you defeated them, but because you denied them existence. Picture a chessboard in low light. Your opponent plays with aggression, fast, loud, confident. You play slow, every move deliberate, unhurried. They start to question themselves. Their strength becomes uncertainty. Their certainty dissolves. That's how mental battles are won, not through brilliance, but through rhythm. The quiet mind dictates the tempo, and tempo dictates control. The invisible thread that ties all human interaction is energy exchange. When you can perceive that exchange, when you can sense pull and push beneath words, you become immune to its manipulation. Because now you see it, and what is seen cannot control you. When you reach this level, the psychopath's world begins to look transparent. Every sentence they craft becomes predictable. Every charm, every test, every guilt trip, all patterns on repeat. You start to feel pity instead of fear, because you realize they are trapped in the only language they know, control. And control is a cage. The truly powerful don't need to control anyone. They control themselves. That is the final thread they can never touch. Part 3. The Eternal Citadel. forging unbreakable resolve. There comes a point when awareness becomes identity. You no longer practice control. You are control. This is the stage of transcendence, the eternal citadel within. Every psychopath, every manipulator, every force of deceit depends on one weakness, that you believe peace comes from others. When you realize peace is internal, manipulation dies instantly. The citadel is built from stillness, not passive, but unmovable. Inside it, emotion serves awareness, not the other way around. You still feel anger, fear, empathy, but none of it rules you. You watch each arise, each pass, and you remain. This is not suppression, it is sovereignty, because the one who owns their emotions owns their world. The Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. Epictetus taught that no one can harm you unless they control your mind. You cannot control events, he said, but you can control your response. That single truth dismantles the entire architecture of manipulation. Psychopaths seek reaction. They need you to forget your choice. But the moment you remember, the moment you breathe and choose stillness, the spell breaks. Picture Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, surrounded by betrayal and ambition. Each day he was tested by flatterers, opportunists, enemies. Yet he wrote to himself in silence, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That is the eternal citadel. It cannot be corrupted because it needs nothing from the world. In modern terms, this is psychological immunity. It's not arrogance or detachment. It's grounded presence. You engage the world fully, but never lose your center. You listen to the storm, but you do not become it. Practical mastery here comes down to 3 living disciplines. Discipline 1, emotional transmutation. When anger rises, breathe through it instead of acting on it. Imagine the energy of anger as raw fire. Don't throw it outward, forge it inward. It becomes clarity, motivation, resolve. Every emotion can be fuel if directed by awareness. Discipline 2, the daily descent into silence. Each day, sit in stillness. 5 minutes, 10, 20. Watch thoughts arrive and pass. This trains your nervous system to witness without attachment. When manipulation comes, your mind recognizes the pattern instantly. Discipline 3, the principle of inner economy. Give energy only where it returns peace. If an interaction costs you serenity, step away. Boundaries are not walls. They are filters that preserve clarity. To defeat a psychopath at the highest level is not to destroy them. It is to remain untouched by them. Because victory in the psychological realm is not conquest, it is continuity. Your calmness continues long after their storm ends. And one day, you will notice something remarkable. Their words that once pierced now dissolve before reaching you. Their presence no longer triggers defense, only observation. You see the machinery behind the mask, and you realize they are predictable while you are infinite. That is mastery. That is the eternal citadel. When mind, body, and emotion align in silence, you become what the ancients called self-possessed. Not possessed by fear, not controlled by validation. Self-possessed, owned by no one. The psychopath cannot enter here because the door has no handle from the outside. You now understand 3 levels of defense: awareness, rhythm, and mastery. Together they form one living philosophy. Observe deeply, respond slowly, remain still inside. Every day, practice in small ways. Notice your body's reactions in conversation. Feel tension before words form. Breathe before replying. Let pauses become your punctuation. When you sense manipulation, even subtle, return to neutrality. Observe like a scientist watching weather. You do not blame the storm for raining. You simply don't step outside without shelter. Awareness gives you that shelter. Over time, these habits fuse into instinct. Your nervous system learns the rhythm of calm. You move through chaos untouched because you are no longer trying to control it. This is emotional Aikido, redirection without resistance. Every pause, every breath, Every detached smile strengthens your internal gravity. People feel it. Some will respect it. Others, those who live on manipulation, will quietly retreat. Let them. Remember, power is not loud. It is the quiet certainty that nothing can disturb your inner alignment. Once you cultivate that, no psychopath, no deceiver, no storm of opinion can pull you from your axis. Make this a ritual. Each morning, remind yourself, I choose stillness over reaction. Each night, reflect, did I remain centered today? This is how mastery becomes muscle memory. In the end, defeating a psychopath is not about confrontation. It's about transformation. They want you to play their game, but the true strategist wins by stepping off the board. Silence is not weakness. Observation is not detachment. Calmness is not submission. They are forms of power that move beneath awareness. Invisible, unstoppable, absolute. The loud seek attention. The manipulative seek control. But the wise seek understanding. And once you understand, fear dissolves. So the next time someone tries to twist your mind, don't fight, don't explain, just see, breathe, wait. Let your silence speak for you. Because in the empire of noise, the one who masters silence rules everything.